Great. So Sandy, you mentioned you do work with women coming out of divorce, separating from relationships.
Yes.
Are there particular patterns you see in terms of the circumstances, the people you work with, one-to-one or in groups?
I'd say it's usually people who have, and it's not just women now. I used to only deal with women, but now I've just opened to, men need help sometimes as well. But it's, what I found is people usually get stuck. They stay stuck in the past, and they can't see any further. They want to move on. And it's funny about moving on, but it's they want to move on, but they stay stuck with what the husband or the wife has done, or what they think they've done, or what they think the relationship was about. So everything is just seems to be stuck in the past, which is just, how do I say? I want to say just thinking, because but we understand that ourselves, but it's not being able to see further, if you know what I mean.
And there's something there. It's like a habitual pattern.
Yeah.
Which it looks like a pattern of behaviour.
Yes.
And a way of experiencing life.
Yeah.
The way someone treated us.
Yes.
And the way we felt as a consequence.
Completely, yeah.
And
there's many consequences from this. There's loads of things happening from that. It means that usually people don't trust anymore. They can't trust. They can't seem to remember who they really are, in a way. And it's just staying there, not knowing, how to go forward, how to, are they going to meet somebody? All the questions are coming back to them. It's just, am I going to meet somebody who is exactly the same person? How am I going to trust someone again after that? How am I going to cope with somebody not treating me the right way, or not treating me the way I should be, considered, that sort of thing. Absolutely. Loads of thinking about, about the future, the past, the future, everything is all mixed up, and it's just really difficult for people to understand what's really going on there. Yeah.
And you really said it there about when people are trying to work out their future, and it's a natural, logical thing to do, about what next.
Yeah.
And you're trying to sort out what next, and end up having all these questions based on all your experiences.
Yeah.
Or what you said about consequences.
Yeah.
And we're so limited by that, because it is contaminated by what was probably a negative experience, whether it accumulated over many years of a marriage that wasn't close, that wasn't connection. There were elements of, whatever you want to call it, abuse, emotional disconnect, losing one's sense of self.
Yeah.
And that's why what I see with people, that what next kind of questions, that reconnection to self, that I see is almost a starting point, as well as sowing the seeds of hope, possibility. But I see in people, it's like, well, who am I anymore? Yeah. I gave myself to that.
Yeah.
They took away from me.
Yeah. There's also, exactly this. They took away from me, but also the fact that we are alone and then not complete. There's a lot of this around as well. I found, it's, yeah.
So that sense of, I'm interested what you think about the way we define ourselves when we are in a marriage, and let's say we've had children and we've built a family home. All these things do define us, particularly the way the outside world see us. whether it's friends, family, our parents, our children.
Yeah. Yeah. So you see yourself, you know, once there's separation at some point, you tend to see yourself being broken. It's just like you've lost, as you said, you know, you've lost a part of yourself. So you're broken. You know, and there's you've been also, you know, I was reading something this morning about people saying, you know, like, my heart is broken as well. You know, it's just really, really interesting to see that, and to see beyond that, to see that you're never actually broken.
Yeah, yeah. And it is that power of the language, isn't it? It's the internal dialogue, especially when people, as a result of coming out of a marriage, the loneliness that can follow on, but the lonely thinking or the insecure thinking, the trying to work stuff out.
Yeah.
It really looks like, yeah, I'm broken, or part of me's been taken away.
Mm.
What am I anymore? And when we have that thinking, I guess it's a natural consequence to find it difficult to see what's next. The possibility of a new relationship, the possibility of just making choices and being okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's almost like what I see with people is that they are trapped in the past, the way you described beautifully. And by definition, that means they have no future. They're in chains.
Yeah. It's, you know, not being able to see any further, you know, even though you're trying to project yourself with what you know already, what you think you who you think you are,
Yeah.
what you think your experiences are, or, you know, everything that's happened to you, you know, and so trying to get out of it, you know, you can't really get out of it if, I mean, depending on how people just see it, but it's really hard for people to go to see beyond that.
Yeah.
You know, really hard for people to see that, but it's just reminding people, you know, reminding them who they really are.
Yeah.
That's really, really important, I think.
Yeah.
And to give you an example, I separated from my husband myself 4 years ago, and it's been, you know, it was just like, I think I couldn't remember who I really was, you know, because I met him, I was very young, I was 18 when I met him, and it seemed to be like there was me before, there was me after, even, you know, but I wasn't acting the same, you know. There was me before, the free spirit, you know, the free person doing anything she wanted and that sort of thing. And then going into the marriage, I was very different. I was, you know, we were a couple, we were close, and it's just really strange the way things started to change, you know, after, you know, how I saw things after the separation. But seeing like I wasn't, it's really hard to define, actually, to explain, but it's seeing that I wasn't the same person as I was when I was 18, you know. I had changed, of course I had changed, and I didn't consider myself as free as such, you know, anymore. But then when we separated, I wanted to be back to who I was before, to be that free person, to be able to do whatever I wanted. But I was stuck with my experience of not being, not having been this free person for so many years, for 18 years, you know. It's just really strange not to be able to see that we're still the same person as before, you know. We are free, you know, we are able to do whatever we want to create, or we can do anything we want. But we're getting stuck. I was stuck because of how I was thinking about my experience in my marriage, or not just that, but the experience of the separation more than anything else. What's happened in the moment when things weren't that great. So I was really getting stuck there, just mainly through thinking, mainly through how I was thinking about how it was for me. So it's been a journey for me to just let go of that and to rediscover myself, really.
So I'm interested. What was it? Was there a turning point or a moment where you saw it differently?
For me, the way I dealt with the situation was, I had started, NLP. I had started like some sort of self-development course, and I knew I wanted to carry on in that direction. And I thought it was going to help me. It was really going to help me to be more confident, to help me see through my problems, or but I just kept searching, searching for the next thing, carried on, couldn't still find myself. I was searching for myself, really.
Yeah.
But I was looking for things. I guess I was looking for some sort of feeling that, the fact that I wanted to feel great. I wanted to feel, confident. I wanted to be better about myself, think better about myself, because there's a lot of thinking about who I was, and how I was considering myself at that moment, who I was on this planet and that sort of thing. But so I searched and did a few courses, NLP, not EFT, TFT. I did hypnosis, that sort of thing, which were great. I mean, I've had amazing experiences with that, energy therapy as well. And it's only when I went on to this course last year, with Jamie Smart, it's I don't know what I heard. I don't know what's happened, but I realized I had created this experience myself. And this is only when I could see that this is when all the thinking just dropped. The thinking about who I thought I was, the broken person, all the thinking about my ex-husband, and it looks like I couldn't see any further because of what he did to me. Yeah. So I couldn't move on, really, so it took me a while to do that. But as soon as I heard that I've created the experience myself, even though, things happened for sure, I can't deny this, things happened. But it's the way I related to those things that were keeping me stuck.
Absolutely. So what you said about the way we relate to it, what I hear people I talk to and work with is the way they identify with it, the way they create meaning, the way it looks like the behavior, however bad it is, has caused them to feel a certain way.
Yeah.
But as part of that, has caused them to become something different, or has caused them to lose something. And the way I saw it and the way I work with people is helping them see that, well, we do innocently become a victim of our circumstances.
Yeah.
What I talk about with people is about where we've innocently given our power away.
Yeah, completely.
And in a marriage, in a relationship, who we've given it away to is the other person. It looks like they've taken it away with the unkindness.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Or the very subtle undermining. whether it's the little put downs or just whatever just bubbles under. And from what I see, that lack of closeness, those things that, more and more I look, I've been reading The Relationship Handbook again by George Pransky, and it's the simple things in a relationship. When people get together, there's the big romance, the passion, all that. And what I took from the book recently, just reading it again, is just that feeling of closeness, that simple joy from just hanging out and being together.
Yeah. Yeah.
And someone said to me, look, it's that closeness. It's the cuddles. It's just that feeling of being able to share.
Yeah.
And it's such an extreme when you're in a relationship where there's an absence of that. Or you only get it and it ends up being conditional.
Yeah.
It becomes this big push-pull struggle. And obviously you can analyze relationships all different ways, but the kind of conversations we have, we've innocently given our power away to the other person.
Yeah.
So you mentioned how you start working with people. Just, what is okay, there isn't a series of stages, but what do you see when people do see the possibility, whether it's reconnecting to themselves or seeing that, being able to see beyond their thinking of what has caused them to become this version of them that is in some way broken and therefore needs fixing? Is that a starting point? Is that the way we work, I know, is that we see that wellness within. We know they're not broken.
Yeah, they come in order to get fixed. We're here to fix them, but we're not. Because they're not broken anyway. But it's so the realization of understanding how we create our experience in life. And people when they start to realize this. Often, what I see is I've had a few people just saying, it's I can't say. People just tend to think it's just, it's down to thinking. It's down to how we create our experience. It's down to how we think and that sort of thing. Okay. So people just say to me, oh no, I've been thinking again, but you can't really stop that, which is part of it. So it's through, I can't say stages, as you said, but you start people to understand that. Start to understand that thinking plays a big role in how we experience life. And then people start to see that they create their experience of life, and that's when they start thinking it's a huge responsibility, it's a massive responsibility that we are creating this ourselves. And but once they see a bit further, it's liberating. It's really coming to this place where things come into place really naturally and automatically, like when you understand how I was going to say again, how we create our experience of life, how we think about things, how we think about problems, how we think about, the marriage we had, how we think about our ex-husband or ex-wife, or is how we think about this that's making the huge difference, the massive difference in how we are.
And it's something that's come up, which I know as a therapist as well, and something in all my training really, is that the magic often happens in between a client being with us. I say to people like, look, we're not doing CBT here. I'm not going to give you a to-do list. And, sometimes they want a little bit of homework, so they're used to it. Or they've come to me because they don't want homework. Start challenge their thinking.
Yeah.
And, the area I look in is that, well, just begin begin to be more aware of your experience. So when those habitual thought patterns come in, or just in your day-to-day, because this also had an insight whilst you're talking there, that yes, we know, the way the brain works is it's pattern matching all the time. And in solution focused therapy, it's you think, and using hypnosis, hypnotherapy, you're priming someone of positive expectancy.
Yeah.
So they have a positive interaction socially. They begin to think, that, oh, actually, I'm feeling a bit better. I'm enjoying life again. That's still an outside in perception because the cause and effect is from the circumstances. But there is an absence of thought. In that moment, they haven't got as much on their mind. Those habitual triggers in that moment haven't come in. Great. The seed has been planted. But for it to be truly sustainable, for me, that seed, that little, just begin to notice where your experience is coming from, whether it's a good feeling or a bad feeling, whether it's habitual thought or something that looks like it's a bit different. And then I think people create the room. They can begin to see beyond because they begin to drop just a little bit. Bill Pettit talks about those photons of light in the tunnel. And his context there were working with people who'd had extreme circumstances and experiencing or had been diagnosed with PTSD. But it's the same principle. And I see my job as just zooming in on that with someone. And helping them see, well, what's going on? What's different there? So when you work with someone, when you see, that moment of hope or a moment of insight.
Yeah, I think, it's, it really is, it's hope. It's just starting to see something. They start to see something, and that's giving them, this hope they probably hadn't had for a long time, seeing that something could happen here. They could see beyond what they know or they think they know. And it's hope. I think it's quite big, and people get insights about what's actually happening for them. They can get insights about their previous relationship. Like I had a big insight myself regarding my relationship, where I could see my innocence in that, but also my ex-husband's innocence. Whereas I didn't necessarily want to see that, But that's what I saw, that's what I managed to see. And just that is, is really liberating to be able to see that. I didn't force anything. I didn't have to forgive, or I didn't have to do anything.
That's interesting. You use the word, you didn't need to forgive.
No.
There's a line in The Missing Link by Sid Banks where he says, forgive the person, but not the act. But I know some people say, well, actually, you don't even need to, that will happen. Because that feels like a conscious thing you have to do. And people grapple with it. And there's some really good stuff out there. Someone was telling me yesterday about the Forgiveness Project. It's quite a long process to go through. And it works with people. But the act of dropping something and seeing something different, we can say has the quality of forgiveness. It can look like forgiveness. It's just the letting go.
Yeah, it's seeing really what's happened. I think for me that was my experience anyway. It's just seeing that when my experience of it just changed in a second. Okay, so I saw from one moment I saw my ex-husband doing certain things and which I wasn't happy about and that sort of thing. And the next moment I could see his innocence because in a way you hadn't seen how he created his experience. And I hadn't seen this myself either, you know. So I saw my innocence, his innocence. And from that, from seeing that, I mean, all the thinking just dropped, you know, all the thinking is just like, you're seeing how it really is, you know, you're seeing the reality here. And so, you know, people would just think, you know, yeah, but still there were things, you know, he did things and that's, well, you know, yeah, he made mistakes. So did I, you know, and because we're human beings and we make mistakes and that's what we do. That's what we do. But it's not getting caught up in this, not getting, you know, just blaming him for making mistakes while I've made mistakes too.
Yeah.
So in a way, you when you see that at a very deep level, when you really see that, there's no need to forgive. There's no need. I mean, all the thinking drops, and so what's left behind this, what is behind all this thinking, is just, for me, it's just compassion.
Yeah.
That's what's just. It was there, you know. It's just. I didn't need to blame him anymore. You know, I didn't need to see him in a different way, a different perspective, or work on myself to see him differently or to see the experience differently. It just happened because I really saw what happened. I really saw, I mean, the reality of it, not just what I thought the reality was. So yeah, for forgiving, you know, for 3 years I'd been using affirmations, that sort of thing, to forgive. But still there was something behind me in the back of my mind, you know, where I was still blaming. You know, I was still blaming, so I can't really forgive in that way. So forgiving for me is not accepting. You know, it's not accepting what's been done, that sort of thing. You know, it's what happens when you really see the reality of it. When you really see that we're all human beings. You know.
And what you said about that innocence,
Yeah.
does it go hand in hand, or is it, depending on the person, that being able to forgive in someone's mind, that's the way they framed it, is also about forgiving oneself? And I see in people, they can feel guilty.
Yeah.
Particularly around parenting or feeling like they've let their family down. It's all in the mix.
Yeah. Yeah.
People can, I've got him out of my life, I've shut that out psychologically, but then they're left with this guilt. I don't think we need to go through it again. It's the same misunderstanding. Yeah. It's the same innocence.
Yeah.
And again, when you're talking, I saw something more clearly, that when we see that innocence, traditionally we can think this act of forgiveness, okay, what's the consequence of that? What, we reclaim a part of ourselves? You know, what does this tell me about me? What I heard is that we drop so much thinking and identification that this has consequences and implications for our relationship to ourselves. And that's where we begin to make, I like to call it, progress. Because then surely it is a little bit easier to go out into the world.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah, you don't have so much thinking about who you think you are.
Yeah.
So you can just be who you are, you know? and just enjoy what you like, what you want to do, and just go out and do other things, whatever you want to do, because you're not stuck in the thinking about everything that's happened, because it's just all gone. It's so you're free to be who you are. You're free to do what you want. Yeah, I really think that. I really see that.
Yeah. And it's, to give a metaphor, it's like, because when we're going out, making those, experiencing life in a slightly different way, treading cautiously, we still think there are those traps. So walk through the forest and there's a bear trap there somewhere. But when we see that those thoughts that limit us and prevent us going out and just creating life again, living life with more freedom, with less on our mind, we see what those traps are made of.
Yeah.
Those traps out ahead of us, well, they don't actually exist other than in our own thinking.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, yeah.
We laid them innocently and projected them out into our future.
Yeah.
And I know it's a beautiful moment when we see that, wow, the only thing that's gonna, make me walk more gingerly or more cautiously is my own thinking.
Yeah.
Natural belief that I do not actually have control of my experience. And that brings me back to the present moment, which I see in clients, that when they do connect to that experience they're having, that could be in the room with me or when they report back.
Yeah.
What's been happening in the last week since we last spoke?
Yeah.
I do point people towards it. You sounded more connected to your experience. There seemed to be less on your mind.
Yeah.
And then people naturally have an opportunity to see it differently.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
you could still be living the same life, after separation, for example, but see completely differently. And that changes everything anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're more open to new experiences.
Yeah. Excellent. So thinking about sort of summing up, really, because it's been really, really nice for me, actually, sharing some of my experiences. But when you were talking, just seeing the way I work with people, my own experiences, the way I think.
Yeah.
And we are always going to get tricked and fooled.
Yeah.
And we will have bad days, a bad week, where it looks like, that past is rearing its head again. Those habitual ways of being are coming back in. But they don't have the same power.
No.
When we really see how our experience is being created, moment to moment. And it's not that we even need to remind ourselves of the good times and how far we've come. There can be a time and place for that. But suddenly we're back into affirmations and working on ourselves.
Yeah.
It's just noticing that we are always living in that experience moment to moment. And you can believe that thought or not.
That's what's happening anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how we work.
Yeah. And that's what I like to do with people. It's like, you have got a choice there. Here at the Body Holiday, I was working with one of the massage therapists, and she hadn't really learnt CBT and mindfulness, but I said, those thoughts that pop into your head, you can just wave them through. And in mindfulness, they talk about just like letting it go, but it's like the way she heard it was that, that's not real. That has no meaning. I created that from within. And it was like a bomb hitter. It was brilliant because I saw she had a realization. This was a 2-minute conversation.
Yeah.
So the point of me telling you that story is that it can look like there can be this sort of very gradual dip, dip, up, dip, dip. But where are we getting to with that? It looks like the road to being fixed, the road to recovery, the road to reconnecting to myself. And yes, it is a journey.
Mm-hmm.
And people can talk about reclaiming themselves. I guess the way we work with people is it's a different kind of conversation, because it's about an understanding.
Mm. Yeah.
And you're only ever one thought away from just a completely new experience, which could involve dropping a whole heap, like you mentioned some of the insights you've had.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts from you there?
Well, it is just really seeing how we work, and the moment we see that, it's really life-changing to know that we can't be victim of our circumstances. You know, we can't, people can't make us suffer psychologically.
Yeah.
And that's just knowing how we experience life. That's really, really important, because that's how it works, you know, anyway. And once you really get a glimpse of that, then things really start changing for you.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's a nice way to finish, really. Is those glimpses are all you need.
Yeah. Mm.
Beautiful. Well, thank you, Sandy. I'm just going to stop recording there. Thank you.
Thank you.